Stitch a new start or something you started in 2026. Stitch something patriotic for any country. Stitch something related to winter. Stitch something the color or colors of the Olympic rings. Stitch something with an animal. Finally, stitch something you are encouraged to stitch by a friend or by social media. Stitchy 10 Central here. Okay, so I tried Zooming with my pals on stitching the Winter Olympics 2026, and my video didn't save, or I can't access it. I don't have the right passcode. It's just a hot mess. So we're videoing separate, and I'm going to put them together. I would start by saying the thing I woke up to this morning was thinking one of my favorite Olympic memories was in 1984 Los Angeles Summer Games. Disneyland offered to supply bodies, humanity, for the opening ceremonies, rehearsal. And there were about, I want to say, half a dozen, if not 8 buses of us that were taken out to the Coliseum from Anaheim, the crack of dawn, and they said they were going to feed us lunch. No lunch. I was getting really, really hungry. They brought a truck of apples from the fruit market, and in the what was the sports arena that doesn't exist anymore, we were broken up and asked to go to one of the banners that the scouts were going to rehearse with carrying. And my brother, who also worked at Disneyland on Jungle Cruise, and myself, I worked on, at the time, Space Mountain. We decided to go to Oman. Oman is how we read it. So all these other folks went to Oman. And so there were too many, and there were not enough of the other countries covered. So Darren and I went to Papua New Guinea, and we were the only 2 walking for Papua New Guinea. And when we saw them in the opening ceremonies the next night, what a beautiful, there were 3 athletes, and I believe they had something to do with wrestling or weightlifting. I'm not sure, but they wore beautiful, bright orange sarongs with gorgeous patterned fabrics coiffed around them. It was wonderful. Alrighty, so let's begin. I have, first up, a new start, and that is the Cricut Collection October. And I did not have any magnet holders to get this to stay back because it's very wide, so I loose stitched it back. And here is my house or mansion, the roof and the opening wall. I am stitching this on Fox and Rabbit August fabric of the month, which is called Alaskan Gold, and it is 36 count linen. And why I'm stitching it? Because I love to do October for my family. The second one is something patriotic, and I'm doing Bygone Stitches, One Nation. This is going to be a biggie. I got through Massachusetts and the borders that went with it, the red and the white. So I got through that. And this is being stitched on 28 count Ale Cashel linen. I am using Classic Colorworks threads, Cupid, Blacksmith Blue, and Antique Lace. Love this fabric. Sunday, we were to do something in regards to winter. and I selected the Doreen Jones 2020 Christmas 2025 mystery stitch, and I worked on the Christmas package down there at the lower left. Kind of broke my rule. Part of my rule was to get the border done around what I'm doing, but because it was for Stitch the Olympics, I gave myself a break. The next one is stitch something which has the color of the Olympic rings. It could be a couple, it could be just one. Well, I had red and blue mostly in this one, and this is Svetlana Sikar's Lighthouse in a Bottle. And I'm stitching on 14 count Aida, and I am using DMC. So let's see, looks like that. And there is a whole lot of jute tied around the top of the jar and bows and whatnot. So I think I'll cheat and show you the top of the jar. I think it's going to be really pretty when I'm done. Just got to keep going. The next day is stitch something with animals, and I have Janlin's Noah's Ark, and I got through the giraffe and the borders. So I worked on all this gold border. I finished the top white that had been started but not completed, and I finished Mr. Giraffe, his face was sort of started, but I needed to get that and his neck done. And so I accomplished that. So I love the colors on this fabric. Very satisfying. And finally, we were to show something that we were encouraged to stitch by a friend. And that, of course, is my Fox and Rabbit 2025 mystery cloister garden, and I am still working on the November release, which I was working on the lavender right here, these two. This is probably the biggest thing I've ever stitched. And that's it. And I'll keep going. I am stitching on Vintage Needle Arts Rosemary Aida 18 count. So that's everything. I'll match this up with everybody else at Lois, Tracee, and Lynn. Hope you enjoy everybody's choices. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Lois here with the first 6 days of my Stitch the Winter Olympics challenge. This is day number 1, a new start for 2026. This is the Crafter Owl by Nath Nolan. This is my first start for 2026, and this is what I've gotten done so far. It's on 16 count oatmeal Aida with DMC floss. Day 2 was Stitch Something Patriotic, and I'm back on my American Patriot. I started this during the Summer Olympic Challenge. It is stitched on 14 count white, and it was Aida, and it was a kit, not sure of the floss. And this is what I've accomplished so far. Day 3 is Stitch Something Related to Winter. I went with the Primrose Cottage, Hello Winter. I'm stitching it on 14 count self-dyed Aida. I used coral, bright yellow, and a denim blue mixed together, and I came out with this color with DMC floss. Day 4 was pick a color from the Olympic rings. I picked blue. This is my Dragon Heart by Ann Stokes. And I've been stitching on the first dragon. And he is being stitched on 14 count light gray Aida that I purchased in Vegas with DMC floss. Day 5 is stitch an animal. I'm going with my oldest whip, probably 35 years old. This is a gray carousel horse, stitched on 14 count, white. Ada, it was a kit. I managed to lose the floss, so I've been trying to improvise with DMC. Hopefully to have it done this year. And day 6 was stitch something encouraged by friends. I'm back to the Emerald City by Owl Forest. And this is what I've gotten done so far. Changing up the color of her dress from white to purple, because the white's just not showing up the way I would like. And that's it for the first 6 days.
Hi, Tracee here to share with you my first stitch projects from Stitch the Winter Olympics with the Nap Time Stitcher. I started off with a new start, Eat, Stitch and Be Merry by Tiny Modernist, and I completed 500 plus stitches. This is a 28 count fabric flare called Doll's House, and I'm using some random overdye flosses from my stash. Day 2 was something patriotic. I'm currently stitching this Bivster's flag. She's a seller on Etsy. If you haven't seen her flags, they're absolutely wonderful with a different Quaker in each square. Just before Christmas, I managed to get to 50%. This is its second year now, and this is how far I got after stitching 519 stitches. Just a little close up to see. I'm using CXC threads with this one, and this is a 28 count pale blue. I'm not sure on where from. Zweigart by the look of the orange stitching. Day 3 was Stitch Something Winter. I started this with my friend Wendy, who is finished. It's called Children and Tree by Crazy Bee Patterns. I'm currently close to finishing, but I wanted to change the colour of the dog to match my little dog, and I sort of got put off by that fact, but I've got this far, so this should be a finish this year. My little dog is grey, so I changed the colours to grey. This is a hand-dyed fabric by Crafty Kate here in the UK, and I'm using all the called for flosses. Day 4 was colours from the Olympic rings. I've got a little grandson who was born nearly 2 years ago, and I'm stitching him a little doll from this book by Susan Bates. The one I'm stitching is called Billy, and you've stitched the front and the back and then stitched the two pieces together. You can change hair colour. There's lots of different, without showing you the patterns, there's different hats and heads and hairstyles. I'm just doing him as he is, and he's got red, white and blue, so that tied in with the Olympic rings. Day 5 was Stitch Something with an Animal. This is another sal I started a couple of years ago with Lala D Stitches. It's called In Praise of Pollinators by the Blue Flower, and this will be the final design. I'm stitching it on 32 count Lugana that I hand dyed myself. It's coming across a little bit more blotchy than it is, but that's how far I've got. And in this round, day 6, I'm something a friend got you into, Alison. I'm stitching the Dog's Declaration by Ink Circles, and this has actually got a time constraint on it. It's the only one of my cross stitch pieces that has. And I'm not going to show you it all because we don't want Alison to see how far or not far I've got. But I stitched over this side this time and stitched 630 stitches. Again, this is a 28 count Lugana that I dyed myself. And that completes my stitches for the first 6 days. Hope you're having fun.
Good morning, Alicine Stitchin' friends and family. I am Lynn from Nova Scotia, and I am partaking in the Stitch Olympics. And this is my 2 of the beginning parts. That is the opening ceremony, which is the new start, as well as something patriotic for the next one. The next one I have here is for the Winter Olympics, and of course it's something winter, and it also has the color for the ring and a small animal. So there carries the 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and then for stitch something that you were encouraged to stitch by a friend or social media, I was sent this beautiful cross stitch by Miss Allison, and I am still working on it today. So it has been a little bit, but I am getting there. So that is me keeping on track. Thanks for including me, and sorry I couldn't be there yesterday because we got like about 4 feet of snow. So take care. Thanks.
And last year we had a beautiful tour of Milan with a Viking cruise that we took. It was wonderful. The inside of that cathedral is magnificent, and so is the roof. What a view. It's gorgeous. We went to this beautiful cafe along the canal. They specialized in charcuterie. Got to share so many flavors, a bottle of red wine, and the canal. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. Let's end it here with a grazie. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and I'd love it, ti passi, if you would give me a like. Thanks so much. See you next week, 18th, I hope.